You're listening to the Social Selling Simplified podcast. Stick around if you too are obsessed with learning things that actually work and believe that success leaves clues. We're all about identifying results-producing roadmaps and getting super clear on how to scale and grow your online business. From part-timer to president, social selling expert Ashley Shaw will help you connect the dots and take the guesswork out of what works to grow a social selling empire. It's time to hear from social selling legends, listen in on truthful conversations, and learn the best tips and tricks to reduce the marketing overwhelm so you can build the social selling business of your dreams. If you're ready to go all in, no holding back, and build the business you've always wanted, you're in the right place. Here's your host, educator, social selling guru, and fitness industry OG, Ashley Shaw.
Welcome to Social Selling Simplified. I'm your host, Ashley Shaw, and I am coming to you guys live from Fredericton, New Brunswick. So for those of you guys that don't know this, myself, my husband, and our daughter, Coco, and let's not forget Brew, our Boston Bulldog, we actually live in Canada, and we've been in Ontario, I would say, I guess, since January. We tend to move around quite a bit. We have a couple of Airbnb properties, and we love to go out to the East Coast. So we have an Airbnb in Fredericton, which is where I am currently recording from. And we are making our way out to Nova Scotia, and we are in quarantine. So for those of you guys that maybe this doesn't apply where you guys currently live, for us, this basically means we've got to isolate for 14 days. And this means you can't leave the house. You have to stay on your property. Groceries are getting delivered, and you got to wait it out to know if basically if you have COVID or not. So here we are. We're on day number 7 in quarantine. It's an interesting feeling, being, I guess it's like kind of being on house arrest. And I always, like, the first 7 days of quarantine is always a bit rough. And then you sort of get in your groove and you're like, okay, wait a sec. Quarantine is halfway done. I can get some shiz done. So I'm kind of on the second side of quarantine now, where I'm like, okay, we got the first 7 days nailed. Time to really start cranking out and getting down to productivity and trying to be really effective during this time that we have together. We have quite a few friends out here in New Brunswick, so it's always a really great social experience to catch up with all those friends and be able to kind of see how things are, what kind of things have been going on and what we've sort of missed. And it's a bit, different out here in the sense that things are a little bit more normal, where there's many less cases of COVID and things like that. So anyways, just wanted to provide some context here today and let you guys know that I've been super pumped to jump in and record this podcast episode. Bill and the baby are outside with Brew throwing the Frisbee for him. So they've given me a little bit of quiet time here to get recording. And I have a really special episode for you guys today. And I want to give you the context of why this episode is so important. And when it comes to finding your people, this is something that every person in business struggles with if they are not clear on who their people are. So I am going to be mentioning a couple of resources throughout this episode that you're definitely going to want to check out. One of them is 5 free posts that you're going to be able to download. You just go to ashleyshaw.ca/findyourpeeps, PEEPS, peeps, ashleyshaw.ca/findyourpeeps. That's going to give you 5 free posts to help you start attracting your people. The second resource I'm going to be mentioning throughout this episode is way more in depth. It is the Ideal Customer Cheat Sheet. Now, this is a product that we have heavily, heavily discounted because it's so important that you as a coach, as a network marketer, as a business owner have done this work. And here's the problem. Most of us start off in our business without doing this. And what ends up happening is you end up spraying and praying. You end up talking to a ton of people. You end up getting frustrated and you end up getting no traction. I can literally say in every previous business that I started, this was something that I was always like, ooh, yeah, I don't really want to do that right now. So I never put the work in, and I can with so much certainty say that's why every other business before this failed for me, is that I was not clear on who my ideal customer was. Therefore, I could not get anyone's engagement. And I really, really struggled with putting a lot of effort into things and not getting that end result. So to get a copy of this, you're going to go to ashleyshaw.ca/cheat sheet. And for a limited time, you're going to be able to get it for $7. It is literally worth 97% more than that. It's so helpful. So I'm going to get into the specifics here of why it's so helpful. But a couple quickly would be, you're going to learn how to interview your ideal customer with this cheat sheet, and you're going to learn exactly what you need to do to speak directly to them. So it's super important. ashleyshaw.ca/cheat sheet. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the 5 mistakes you're making and why you're not finding your people. So I remember a good friend of mine and a Beachbody coach, Bria Evenson, said to me once, I'm just looking for the people that are looking for me. And this was a famous quote by her dad, Bill Gadd. And what I loved about this quote is that I think it really helps summarize what all of us got into this business for. And that is really just looking for people that we can help, the people that are ready to take action, the people that are our doppelgangers, the people that are our soul sisters out there that really are just looking for what we have to offer. Because if you find those people, you never have to close them. It's a really good indication that you're talking to the wrong people. If you always feel that you get no's, if you feel like you face a lot of objections, if you feel that people ghost you all the time, like these are key examples of you're talking to the wrong people. And we used to have this in the fitness industry back where we had different types of leads, right? Your best leads were always, always, always referrals. But there were other leads that you would get in your funnel too, back in the physical, when I actually worked in a fitness club. And so those leads would be ballot box leads. And so when people could get a 7-day trial, those leads were always crappy. And you would find those people would most often no-show. Those people would most often not answer their phone, not call you back, because their intentions were just to win something. Whereas when you got a referral and you could talk to this person that their friend had just joined, man, it was like an 80% closing ratio. So the thing about all of this, the biggest mistake that people really make is they focus on everyone. So this is mistake number 1. You're focused on everyone. And I think that this comes from a place of we don't want to say no to anyone that would be willing to work with us. So what ends up happening is we spray and pray, and we talk to everyone in our posts and in our marketing. And what ends up happening is that it's so generic and it doesn't speak directly to the person. It does not capture their attention, and it doesn't slow the scroll. It doesn't click the inbox open button. And it really doesn't do any of the things that marketing should do, which is help facilitate a conversation with our ideal customer. So if you are focused on everyone. And that could be in the example I just gave, where you're writing a post and you have no specific ideal customer in mind. Or it could be that you don't really understand where your best leads come from. So you're just spraying and praying everywhere. Those are some key indications that you need to get really specific with who your ideal customer is. So some of the ways that you can do this, and this would be where the ideal customer cheat sheet really comes in handy, is you want to start interviewing the people that are most likely to be your ideal customers. So maybe you do not have a first customer yet. So you want to think about, who are some of the people I could interview that I think could be my ideal customer. So you can start getting some intel and gaining some intel. If you do have customers, you can start looking at your customer list and interviewing those people, because there are definitely patterns and trends in there that are going to help you get really clear on who you should be speaking to. Now, one other interesting thing is when you actually look at the demographics and the psychographics of who the majority of Beachbody coaches are, it's typically nurses and typically teachers. So that's just one of those interesting facts out there that maybe if you look at your current list of customers, you're going to pick up something like that and know, oh, like the majority of them are teachers or nurses. I now know how to have a bit of a different conversation than I've been having before. So make sure that you're not focused on everyone and you really understand where your best customers are coming from and who they are. Mistake number 2 is you have no sweet clue who you're actually talking to. And so where this mistake really comes from is when you don't know who to focus on, you are really creating confusion in your messaging. So when you are not specifically picturing someone sitting across the table from you and you are writing a post specifically for them, it can get really cloudy on who you're talking to. And the other thing that can come up here is you can get a bit lost in all the overwhelm, right? There's so many things to focus on. Like social media has become such a noisy place. And I don't know about you guys, but I am bombarded all the time with ads on, here's these captions, here's this, here's how to hack the Instagram algorithm, like all these things that are smoke and mirrors. And I say that because at the end of the day, you've got to learn to have a really good quality conversation with your ideal customer. None of those things will matter, like the Instagram hacks and the algorithms and focusing on engagement. Like at the core of all of that is you having a sweet clue who your ideal customer is and speaking directly to them like they are the only person listening. That is the only way you will be able to cut through the noise. Otherwise, you'll not be able to get their attention and they won't know that your message is for them. So you really have to cut through the noise and speak directly to that ideal customer as if they are sitting across the table from you. You have to do that to break the cycle and actually get their attention. Mistake number 3 is you don't know what language to use to speak to them. So language is one of those things. When it comes to building rapport, it's a huge part of sales. If people are ghosting you, it's because you don't have enough rapport with them. And so rapport is building of commonalities in a relationship. So when you're in person, think of it this way. You meet somebody and you have a couple of things you can do to build rapport. You can start talking at the same speed and volume as them. So if they speed up or they slow down or their voice is quiet or it's loud, you're going to mimic that to build rapport, right? Then you are going to mimic their body language. So if they are kind of sitting back and not all up in your biz, like you're going to do the same. Same thing when it comes to the language they choose. That is another way that we build rapport. We choose the similar words, similar language. We repeat what they say. So if we look at that scenario, when you are talking to someone online, you only have one of those options. I'll give you a sec to think about what that is. Yes, you are correct. The only thing you have are your words. You cannot mimic a volume of their voice. That doesn't exist. You cannot mimic their body language. Also does not exist. The only thing you have to build rapport is how you speak to somebody. So again, in the ideal customer cheat sheet, this is where we actually go through gathering that language, because language is so important when you are sending messages and sending DMs and speaking to people in that regard where you are trying to help them make a purchasing decision. You need to be building rapport and using the same language as them. That is super important, not only to get their attention, to slow the scroll, but then when you get to the point of actually walking them through a sales transaction or a possible sales transaction, you need to be using their language. Mistake number 4 is you don't know their values, so you can't relate. Now, this is one, again, it may not be that obvious that you need to understand your customer's values, or maybe you're like, oh yeah, totally obvious. I think that if you've never heard of this concept before, it can be like, oh, like totally get it, totally makes sense. Never looked at that or considered that before. But the reason that this is so important is that you want to start theming what you're posting on social media with similar themes to your ideal customer. So I'm going to give you guys an example. One thing that I have been experiencing since the birth of our daughter, Coco, is I have been having such a challenging time with reestablishing and understanding my role in terms of entrepreneur and mother. And because before I had Coco, like every bit of my worth was in my business basket, so to speak. Whereas now, in having to realign my priorities, it's just something that has been a big shift for me in trying to understand. And I actually had a friend tell me this, that, you know, there's a lot of mothers that sort of lose themselves in this process. And I didn't really know what that meant until the last few months, where I'm like, you know, really realizing that this is I got to do something about this to really make sure that I don't just get swept up in something that, you know, I always found so much fulfillment before in my business. If I'm not doing a certain amount of those activities, it feels challenging for me. So it's really important that if I know that about my ideal customer, one of my posts is going to have to speak to that, getting kind of lost in the motherhood and how I'm sort of climbing back out into this like transformed person that is learning how to operate again and learning how to operate with babies in tow. And so the reason that this is so important is that when it comes to, again, if we look at building rapport, getting engagement and those sort of things, nobody cares what you're offering, right? They don't really care when they first come across you that you sell a product. What they will care about is if you guys have things in common. So it's like this build rapport stage that if you do not speak to the same values as them, they will not take notice of you and you'll get lost in cyberspace in the Facebook and Instagram algorithm if they never interact or engage with your posts. So it's really important that you know what their values are so that you can be consistently posting things they think about, because that's like the best post that you can ever have. What a home run is when you post something and they're like, whoa, you just read my mind. Like that is absolutely the best type of post, because one, not only if they stop at that post and they read it, then the algorithm knows like this person is interested in what you are serving up and what you're offering. And that will ensure that they see more of your posts in the future. So the same with going live, right? If you start talking about typical things that they're thinking about, they're going to stop and pause and, engage. Maybe they won't click a button, but they will still be engaging with your material. Therefore, Facebook is going to continue to serve them your material. So the more that you know their values and you can speak to those values, that's really, really helpful in creating content and being able to find your people. If you want some examples of this, definitely download those 5 free posts. You can go to ashleyshaw.ca/find your peeps. Peeps, Peeps. All right. Mistake number 5. You're not consistent and you tend to overthink things. So this is, man, don't get me wrong. This is a good one, because I think we've all been there before, where we start to doubt our ability to show up online and be that voice that people need to hear. I think it's easy to get rolled up in the journey, forget how far we've come, forget how many things we've accomplished, and to get caught up in our own heads and start overthinking things. This is something that I definitely know, as someone that has experienced this myself, that you can just so easily talk yourself out of going live or posting if you're like, oh, my lighting isn't good, I have nothing to talk about, I don't know what to say. And it's just this snowball of not having your energy in the right place. And it's really the little things that you can post about and talk about that people will find relatable. Now, I'm not a proponent of just post to post and just, like, this is my lunch today, like, I'm just going to post it if it doesn't tie into the values of your people and all those other things. But I'm saying that it is important that you do have consistency in showing up and being able to offer value. And if you're struggling in that area in your business right now, you need to learn more. Because we're inspired when we learn, right? I don't know about you guys, but I would bet and say that if you were to learn something new, you would be super pumped to go out there and share it with your audience. So an example would be, there's a really great book I've read so many times. It's called Change Anything, but it's all about the science of change and why people change or don't change. So something like that can, as you're reading that and doing that self-development, it provides so many great opportunities to get excited about what you're doing, your message, and how to share it. So being consistent and not overthinking things is really about keeping your mind right and keeping things that you are excited about and passionate about that are in your line of work, keeping that stuff coming. Because if you cut off that oxygen supply of development, you're going to feel like, I don't have anything inspiring to say. I'm just going to go overthink about this. And then we do nothing, which is, it's why entrepreneurship is such a head game sometimes, is that we overthink the crap out of things and then we do nothing. We waste so much energy in our heads and nothing gets put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. And that is what stops us. It's not that we don't have the energy. It's just the energy is going into other areas, or it's not that we don't have the time. It's just that we spend so much time thinking and not time doing. So that is a mistake that you definitely want to correct to help you find your people. So those are the 5 mistakes that you're making and why you're not finding your people. Now, the 2 resources that I have shared with you, they are also going to be in the show notes. The first one is the 5 done for you free posts to help you find your people. You can get this at ashleyshaw.ca/find your peeps, PEPPS. The other resource I talked about today is the ideal customer cheat sheet. That can be found at ashleyshaw.ca/cheat sheet. This is going to take you through everything from how to actually interview your ideal customer, what you need to get really, really clear on, and how to pull those patterns and traits together so that you have a cohesive whole of a person that you know you're speaking to, and you can direct every conversation from now moving forward to that person. This is the tool I wish I had in every other business I have started. It is definitely the reason that I have failed in other businesses. And this is definitely the reason why I've been so successful in this business, is really, really understanding my ideal customer. So you definitely don't want to miss out on either of those tools. Thank you guys so much for listening today and taking some time for yourself and allowing me to help you find your people. I look so forward to seeing you in the next episode. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Social Selling Simplified. Thanks for taking the time to level up today. If you're ready to commit to personal and professional growth, move forward, make money, and grow your health and fitness business, head to my free community on Facebook, Business Bootcamp for Fitness Coaches, so I can support you every step along the way. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you right back here next week on Social Selling Simplified.